Russia is asking Western nations to soften their sanctions in exchange for renewing a deal to let Ukraine export its grain. The deal has enabled Ukraine to transport millions of tons of food through the Black Sea despite the ongoing conflict. Ukraine is a major global exporter of sunflower, maize, wheat and barley. When Russia invaded in February 2022, its naval vessels blockaded Ukraine's ports, trapping some 20 million tons of grain. That forced global food prices to all-time highs. Food supplies were particularly threatened in Middle Eastern and African countries which rely heavily on Ukrainian grain, and the UN says prices of staple foods rose across these regions by an average of 30%. UN-Secretary-General António Guterres said 44 million people in 38 countries were facing emergency levels of hunger. UN officials were worried about the Horn of Africa, where drought was already pushing countries towards famine conditions, and a lack of grain was making things worse, says Richard Gowan from the International Crisis Group, which works to prevent conflict. The deal is meant to be extended for 120 days at a time, and the next renewal is due on 18 March. However, Russia is only offering another 60 days. It wants Russian producers to be able to export more food and fertilizer to the rest of the world, but says Western sanctions mean they can't. There are no specific Western sanctions on Russia's agricultural exports, but Moscow argues that other restrictions in place mean international banks, insurers and shippers are reluctant to do business with its exporters. Russia is the biggest exporter of wheat in the world, with a 19% share of the global market. Its wheat exports have increased over the past year, according to agricultural consultancy Sovcon. The country pulled out of the Black Sea grain deal in November last year, accusing Ukraine of launching a massive drone attack on its fleet in Crimea from vessels in the safe shipping corridor. However, it rejoined a few days later. On the 22nd of July last year, Russia and Ukraine signed the Black Sea Grain Initiative, with the support of the UN and Turkey. It let cargo ships pass safely through the Black Sea to and from the ports of Odessa, Chornomorsk and Yuzhny, Pivdeny.